Hello, Thrive Tribe, and welcome to the Thursday night Thrive Tribe. I'm your host, Cass Fachaponte, co-founder and president of Operation Shockwave, and this is my dear, dear friend, Captain Retired Shaun Pearse, formerly Shaun Pearse Wheelwright, the ever wonderful and wonderful prankster of the group. Shaun is not only a dear friend, he is also family to me. I've known Shaun since I graduated West Point in 2003. Shaun graduated in 2004. And the journey kind of continued from there, I suppose. We reconnected a couple of years ago. Shaun's an Arizona native from Pine Top. And I'm just really excited that you're on with us tonight to tell what an incredible story that you have, because there's some highs, there's some lows, some in-betweens, and we've been together through it all. So I don't know where you want to start, but the floor is yours. Why don't you give us a little bit about yourself? How about that?
There's like 7,000 people on here. A little bit about me. So I grew up in the small town of Pine Top, Arizona. I decided that I wasn't ready for college, so I enlisted in the Army and got airborne in my contract like an idiot. My recruiter told me I could go to Italy, which we all know is not really ever happens. Ended up at Fort Bragg in the 82nd as an infantryman, and then got letters of recommendation to go to Green and Gold to become an officer. And then I had the opportunity to go to a prep school to go to West Point. So I was very fortunate to get that opportunity. I feel like I did pretty well there. I don't remember ever having anxiety. I mean, it was brutal academically and everything else, but it just never really was a big deal. Like, I just kind of made a joke about everything, and I had that attitude through infantry officer basic course and ranger school and combat diver, all that stuff. That's how I got through it. And the same with combat. I had 2 campaigns overseas, and it sometimes got me in trouble. But I remember the good outweighing the bad as far as relating to the guys. And when we suffered a loss, I remember my battalion commander actually coming to me and being like, "Hey, this is your lane. It's time to kind of get the guys joking and have a good time." I'm going to be like super monotone now because I'm talking about myself. I hate it.
Well, I mean, I'll interject here, because you said, especially when you have frozen face, which is great, but you said you remember being pretty good at West Point, and you were a top-notch, high-ranking cadet, not academically for the most part, but you were still above average. But you were a phenomenal cadet and had leaders looking up to you, both active Army and cadets, and you really, really excelled there. And then tracking through the Army, especially over there with the losses that you suffered, bringing the guys together, I could only imagine the higher ups relying heavy on you because of your tactical mind, your technical mind, and then of course your personality raising morale, because I saw that all the way through being a cadet. So can you talk a little bit more about that, what that was like when you were overseas, and how you kind of helped bring the troops together and raise their morale as an infantryman, Yeah,
it's funny. I mean, it goes back to when we've talked to some of the National Guard soldiers, and we kind of looked at some guys and said, this guy has a combat patch. He's been there, done that. He's probably got 10, 12 years of service. And then we kind of looked at a guy that was, had a couple of months in, probably young kid. And we kind of came, you and I kind of came to the thought process of like, well, we don't know their story. We don't know where they came from, what they're dealing with, how they're going to face certain things. So, I have people, well, I wasn't in the Army, or I wasn't infantry, or whatever. And it's like, no, you served. I mean, even if you don't serve, there's PTSD out there. There's no one's story is worse than anyone else's, because we just can't quantify it. So for me, growing up, I had a really hard childhood. Typically, I would say a lot of abuse. And so my threshold was a little higher. But when it came to going to combat, that kind of like pushed it over the edge. So there was a couple layers there. And I knew that, but I took that approach with everyone. Don't assume that everyone's just okay. So I took every advantage I could to talk to guys one-on-one, make jokes, see who was laughing, see who wasn't, just honestly, just being genuine. That's how I got through my childhood. I was like the goofy kid. And that's how me and my family got through things, was just like making a joke about everything. And no one would ever guess, what my household was really like. But I took that through the hard training and all the way through combat, and it got me through it. But at a certain point, you don't get to experience the loss and the emotional grief, the cycles, everything else. It was, I can't show any emotions. I got to go to robot mode. So I was in robot mode. Even joking, it was, don't show emotion, don't ever show weakness, kind of be the gray man, blend in. But outside on the scenes, outside of the limelight, it was always joking around and, trying to outdo the guys and the most terrible dark humor I could possibly think of, which wouldn't fly today.
So what happened? So Shaun,
it's a little different. It's all guys.
No, and I
get gay
that.
Stuff.
Well, and it's
literally.
So what happened when you holding that in and playing like the dichotomy of this versus that, like in front of the troops, and not when you came back, right? Because you're medically retired. So what happened there?
So when I got back, I switched branches pretty quickly. And then I got shipped off like immediately to Captain's Career Course. And I was just on my own. Like I got thrown out, and it almost like that's where my transition out of the Army began, because it's the same thing when guys transition out of the Army. You go back home or you go wherever, but you're pretty much alone. You don't have that unit with you that you thrive with, and that brotherhood, that sisterhood. And I didn't have that. And it was just too much for me. I hadn't gone through any kind of counseling, anything. And unfortunately, with the Army, and I'm sure the branches, they were ill-equipped to deal with it. A whole brigade coming back and trying to get these guys, hey, if you're having problems, come talk to someone. Which then, these guys got to tell their team leader who's a dickhead, or, they'll look weak or whatever it is. I tried my best to talk to guys individually and, hey, we don't have to tell anyone about this. It's your right to go talk to someone. But that whole time as a leader, I didn't think about myself ever, because it was let them eat first, let them get help, make sure you're there. There's, to support them, and they're good. And the whole time, you just don't think about yourself because you're still in that robotic mode. And then once it slowed down, things got real bad for me. So bad that I could barely put a uniform on, let alone drive a car. I mean, just insane panic attacks where in the middle of them, just the only thing that I could think of was ending my life. So fast forward to completely out of the Army, that progressed. I had some good jobs here and there, but just couldn't handle the stress level, corporate America, and turned to the bottle quite a bit. And my kids started getting out of the picture, and what I once thought I was going to be wasn't even close as I looked in the mirror. And that's pretty much 5 or 6 years ago. I tried to commit suicide, and fortunately I was probably too inebriated to execute, and but still didn't get really help I needed. You Cass, obviously, more ways than you could possibly imagine saved me. I think of you like a sister, and that's what I tell people when I, oh, I'm on the phone with my sister. And they're like,
Right.
what? I'm like, yeah, she's my sister. She doesn't look like you. I'm like, yeah, she does. What are you, blind? But there's people along the way. There's incidents along the way that just kept me afloat. Always landing on my feet somehow. Whether it was sleeping out of my car and then like kind of reconnecting with someone, or I mean, this is, you go from a place of such power and significance, and I say power not as like I was power hungry, but
No.
you're in charge of 169 guys in combat. I mean, that's a pretty awesome responsibility to, wow, you just hit rock bottom, but you don't really know rock bottom until you hit rock bottom. And I go to rehab, back, and this is definitely rock bottom. Okay, sleeping in my car, definitely rock bottom. And nothing just ever took, and until now. I would say it was my second suicide attempt, albeit a little less aggressive, maybe a little passive, but I'd given up completely. I didn't see my kids for months and months and just drank. That's all I did. And it got to the point where I drank and started doing all kinds of other stuff and pills, and just like hoping every day I wouldn't wake up. And one day I really didn't wake up, and I ended up in a coma for 30 days. When I woke up, well, I don't remember maybe the first week, but I had died twice while in a coma. I lost all of my muscle mass, anything but skin and bones. Basically, all my organs had shut down, my liver, my kidneys, everything in between. And they had told me to make preparations because there's no way, we've done everything we can. And so luckily I slept through all that, but I woke up and I couldn't walk, I couldn't move or eat, go to the bathroom. And that was my thing. It was well, I have perspective. You know, I was always calm and cool-headed in corporate America because we're not getting shot at. That was like my little niche. And, oh, that's why you're so cool and whatever. And you're not making a big deal about things. But again, it's just a show. And I had 9 months sitting in or laying in a hospital bed to recover and think about what had happened. And a couple things with that. I don't know if you want to interject right now because I'm just talking so much, but I do have a few things that came out of that and where I am now.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm sure everybody definitely wants to hear that. You know, having that personal reflection for so long, but I just want to, you know, having that arc, you know, for the last couple of years, you know, when we've been going through, you know, we thought that this was your rock bottom. I mean, I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
He's definitely done. Like we're coming out of 4th Street jail, and I remember seeing you on your
Oh my
knees
God.
with Uncle Randy, and you're like, this is it. I'm heading up from here. And you know, that wasn't rock bottom. And then, you know, something else happens and you're like, that's it, I'm never doing this again. And we thought that was rock bottom. And people say, you know, that rock bottom thing, people say all the time that, you know, she'll learn when they hit rock bottom. But you slept through your coma for 30 days. And like, there's people that love you and care about you that didn't sleep through that. And you're the one that went through it. You know, I'm the one that got hurt in Afghanistan. I'm the one that did this. And so when people tell me like, oh my God, you scared the shit out of me, I'm like, well, wait a second. It happened to me, you know, like you're the one that horrible thing happened to. But to watch it from the outside and to see you struggle, somebody who's so athletic and so physically fit and so full of life for nature and the outside and an avid hiker. And I was like, I don't think he's ever going to get the ability to walk again. You know, just to watch you to go from like a 160-pound, like train, you know, to nothing. It was just so hard to watch.
I'm so gangly. My weight was consistently 198 for years. It was just 198. Even when I was running everything, and then I'm you know, I'm kind of tall, so people were like, "Oh, you're like 160."
Yeah.
So I went into the coma right at 200, and I came out at, well, this is after I was eating and stuff, so I don't really know the worst, but from what I remember, the first time I got weighed when I was coherent enough and eating, I was 146.
Right.
And it was just skin and bones, and I looked like, you know, a Holocaust victim. Bless their hearts.
Yeah. Well, to be a 40-year-old man, right, up here, and on the out, like a West Point grad, a member of the Long Gray Line, a guy who's led districts in Amazon, right? Like, let's not even talk about like what you did in the Army and the achievements that you made and the awards and decorations and things that you've done in the Army, but then to come out of there with a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, like at the highest level, with the anxiety attacks and all that kind of stuff, and then do so well in corporate America and have to leave that and have your life spiral, and then to be where you were just months ago, it was just it was heartbreaking. And now to see you where you are, I mean, you know, the effort that you've put into it. So let's definitely talk about what you've learned, and you know where you're at and the things that you're doing to stay healthy. I mean, I see Chief on the bed back there, you know.
Chief. Chief, come here. It's a beast. Okay. A couple of things come to mind. to get back into like, you know, normal functioning person. I mean, I wrote down everything. I read everything I could. And I mean, I couldn't move for months. So that's a lot of reflection. The thing that always came back to me was grace. Just living with grace, showing my kids, my 2 kids. Oh my God, it's horrible. How to be a man and live with grace and to die with grace. So I think about the legacy I would leave in their lives and how selfish that is. And when you're in it, you're in it. You don't think about anything but yourself. That's what addicts do. That's what people in the, you know, the mental space do that don't cope with their stressors. That you could care less, but because you're just not yourself. I've been sober now since the day I went into the coma. And that's, you know, basically I've had every doctor in every discipline tell me if you have another drink, you're going to die.
Right.
Like,
Right. I mean,
automatic.
originally you
You're
needed a
basically-
liver, right?
Yeah, I was absolutely needing a liver transplant at a minimum, if not kidneys as well, or a kidney. And there's a sliding scale. You know, they do a bunch of tests on your blood, and you probably know about this a little bit too. But if you're, you know, 1 to 8, so low number is better. You have a normal liver. Like 8, you're like, you should probably watch what you eat. If you get to like a 8 to 12, it's like really like you need to go on some medication possibly. Anything over 12 is very concerning. And then once you get close to 20, you're on the transplant list, like 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
And so when I was at my worst, I tested and I was like, you know, I feel pretty good now. Like I don't think I'm going to need a liver transplant. That's how I think, you know, I'm thinking positive. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, has it ever happened? And they're like, yeah, we've seen it, or actually they'd say, we've heard of it happening, but no, there's no way. You need one. My score was a 59.
Jeez, man.
And
Ugh.
they're like, that's great thinking, buddy, but there's no way you're not going to need a liver. You have to get a liver now.
Oh.
And I did everything I possibly could all day, all night. Holistic medicines, you know, just positive thinking, and kept telling them, I'm not gonna go through anymore. I'm not gonna need that. It's gonna heal. And they're like, your liver's scarred over. It's a cirrhosis stage 4. It's
God.
done. And the last thing my doctor told me when I left the hospital, he's like, I just don't know what to say. I have no idea. I don't know how you're alive, number one, and I don't know how your liver came back. You don't need you can't even be on the transplant list. It's so low. So all my blood, everything is normal. But with that, you can. So a couple of things is you think you're invincible, but check your liver out. Check, you know, get a health. I mean, just smart of your body. Life is short. It's fragile. It really is. And if you're still here, you're lucky because we have a lot of friends that, you know, they went over there and they weren't even 21 yet. They didn't come back, didn't get a chance. And that was always the hardest when I was in that kind of state. Like, I'm letting these guys down, you know. But again, you just got to do it for yourself. And the biggest thing I could say is, you know, I'm not going to tell you to call someone every day or make it a goal 5 people a week or do this or do that. But when I worked with the Delta Force guy, he was telling me about how they, you know, obviously you've heard or know of, you know, muscle memory, and they would sit there for hours with their sidearm and just slowly, you know, just pull it out and aim, you know, focus on the target, pull it back, just for hours, just as slow as they could go, to the point where, you know, once they were so fast, they didn't even think. It was just instinct. And so I've done that with my phone. I get the slightest little icky feeling, anything, even if I'm having a good day, I just call people constantly. You know, just people I haven't talked to in a long time, and it's always a good reception, you know. Not literally, but because of the phone and
But
jokes are back.
no, it was a great joke, man. It was a great joke. You know, I love it.
But it pulls you out of yourself, you know. It pulls you out of yourself, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm good. But the point is like I've gotten to the point where even a couple of days ago I was really freaking out because I'm in school and I'm starting my second career, which I found while I was in the hospital, and you don't even know because I didn't tell you. The reason why I didn't tell you is because I wanted it to become a reality before I just like started doing my thing of like, oh, I have a great idea, and I never do it. But I'm enrolled, approved to go get my doctorate in acupuncture and holistic medicine.
We're going to be doctors.
Be a huge part because that's really the focus I took when I was healing myself. It was, you'll be a real doctor. I'll just be a hippie doctor. Like, yeah, man, just smoke this.
Man.
It'll be great. No, not really. But yeah, it was, you really need to find something that makes you get up every day and you know, whatever that is. And that's why I sat there for months grinding and grinding. Should I be a counselor? Should I help this? Should I do that? And all of it just came down to, oh my gosh, like this is it.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at. And
I sympathize and empathize with that because people tell me, Shaun, all the time, like, Cass, you don't understand because you got your shit together. And I'm like, no, I don't. You know, I'm not even wearing pants right now. Like, I don't have my no, I'm wearing pants, but like, I don't have my shit together. But I want to go back to what you said about forming a habit, you know, with that kind of stuff, because
all about habit.
Your mentality back then versus your mentality now, you had a habit. Your habit was when, you know, the defecation hit the oscillation, when the shit hit the fan, you had a habit. You reached for this, but this was filled with favorite drink of choice, right? So when we're psychologically speaking, biologically speaking, physiologically speaking, when we have coping mechanisms that are maladaptive, forming habits, right? That muscle memory of slapping somebody, yelling at somebody, curling up into a ball and, you know, going into a closet or using some sort of anesthetic like a alcohol or a drug, we're forming a habit. So how do you think you were able to, was it just because of the time that you had lying in that hospital bed? Like, what would you say to a veteran that is, you know, on like really far freaking gone, man, right? They're trying to go to rehab, they don't make it to 30 days, they don't make it to 60 days. How do they form adaptive habits that are good for them, you know, because they didn't spend 30 days in a coma trying to knock the habit? Like, what's your advice for them?
It's a get rich quick thing. It's not a book you have to read. It's not a task you have to set up. It's just something you do. You just have to create a muscle memory. And the only thing I can think of is, it was life or death for them. Going into close quarters combat, they had to learn how to reach for that sidearm when it got real bad, and it be just automatic. So you got to create that habit. So good day, bad day, whatever. I don't care if you just
I like it.
take 5 seconds. It takes 5 down and go, okay, I'm scrolling Facebook for a fucking hour. I'm gonna curse because I want it to stick. But I'm gonna scroll Facebook and crush candies for 18 hours. And it's like, just click on the contacts on your phone. And if you have one or two, I don't care. Just click on them. Go to Facebook.
Right.
If you're going to Facebook, just call someone on Facebook. I hate texting. I won't text ever. So I just call people through Facebook, or
Love it.
they're my contacts. Or I've actually had numbers in the past couple of months on my phone. I'm like, who is this? I just call the number because I need practice. So I just call it. I'm like, who is this? And they're like, Dr. So-and-so's office. I'm like, so how's it going? They're like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I went there for something. I was checking back if I need to go back. And they're like, and to God, one, it was like, oh, you can come get your blood test now. We've been waiting for you. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I got my blood test recently, and everything is unreal. I had to deal with diabetes while in the hospital because it screwed my system up so bad. No sign of diabetes. Couldn't even think about touching a drink. And the funny thing is, I don't miss it at all.
Right.
I have so much extra money now. I'm there for my kids.
Yes. And you're living in an amazing house.
I can.
Yeah. You have an awesome pool.
Mm-hmm.
You got a new dog. You got a cool roommate. An awesome. So I do want to ask you a question, and you're doing frozen face, but maybe I can get through.
And I know we're going over time.
Yeah, but I want to ask you this. Do you think being in the service was a detriment or a positive, or really just answer the question, how did being in the service affect your life?
Yeah. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
Okay, because the follow-up question was, do you regret it? So good. Yeah.
Regret is it's a one-sided sword. It's just there is a book I will recommend. It's called Loving What Is, and the basis is, well, that's reality. I mean, and I hate the phrase "it is what it is," but it's loving what is.
Loving what is. Okay.
I shouldn't have gone in the military and you can use it in any situation. I should have gotten in the military because I wouldn't have been all fucked up. No, you should have gone in the military. And then you go, well, why? Well, you should have gone because you did. There's no regret there. There's because you did. I shouldn't have called that girl back. I shouldn't have had another drink. I shouldn't have done this. Or I had so many ifs and coulds and woulds of combat that killed.
Yep.
Well, no, you shouldn't have. Well, I could have gone back in that didn't,
Right.
but you didn't. That's how I know, because that's reality. Like, welcome to planet Earth. I'm reality. I'm going to be here for a while. I'm going to show you a picture.
Okay.
And we can let people know, but I have to show you, because if I'm really feeling bad, there's something for everyone. But, you hear, put pictures up or little sayings on your walls, whatever you want. But yeah, everything happens for, it's not everything happens for a reason. It just is.
No.
You did something, you made a mistake
and
because you did. That's how you're supposed to do it. There's no looking back,
and I
man.
say everything in the
Only
universe.
forward.
I say everything in the universe happens for us. That's what I say. There's a purpose.
I couldn't agree more. And yeah, there's a bunch of bullshit quotes I could share and be like, it made me stronger, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it was just acceptance. It wasn't a quote or anything. It wasn't like a magic book I read or anything. That book is magic though.
Okay.
So I tend to like look at something like this. You can see that.
Whew. That'll do it.
So
yeah. And that was probably halfway through, I think. Right?
I think it was, I'm guessing it's pretty early on. Oh yeah, about halfway through. Yeah, I had like 4 million IVs, and they said at one there was hospitals that were all.
Can you see that? Wait. Look at this one.
And
Shaun.
Yeah. Huh? What?
Shaun.
Holy shit! I've never seen that. You take that?
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at it. That's probably when I was first standing, maybe. Now we're just doing a personal conversation between us.
Well, and that's what this is supposed to be
Or
about.
I can look in the mirror. Look at my teeth. Like, they're still stained and like all effed up. I'm getting them fixed tomorrow, finally. So when I came out of the coma.
This is when they were trying to lift you.
It's very vain of me.
We're gonna.
Oh, it's a video?
Yeah, this is a video. You couldn't really make it. It's really sad. But you're here now. Your story, I mean, it's like a cautionary tale, but it's also an inspiring tale, because I've believed in you for so long and loved you. I love you. I haven't loved you, I love you. And the world needs to have you here. Your boys need to have you here, and our community needs to have you here. So, but I want people to know. Oh, we're echoing. But I want people to know your story. And I want people to be inspired by the things that you have done, because you're a freaking warrior, man. You're a beast. So before we sign off, is there any parting words you want to leave for the Thrive Tribe now that you're thriving?
Live and die with grace. Form a habit. And don't fuck it up. Because it's so easy to.
Yeah.
It really is. We've made decisions that we all regret. We've all second-guessed everything, but it is reality. And we're meant to be where we're meant to be. If you're listening to this, you were meant to listen to this. Just like everything that happens. You can't fight it because it's already done.
That's right. Everybody deserves a second chance and even more. So
I love you.
I love you. You're a beautiful soul. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for watching, everyone.
I'll
We'll see you
start
tomorrow.
sticking needles in your face soon.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Thrive Tribe.
Thank
for
you, everybody.
listening to
Feel free to reach out.
Always. We're always available. Night, y'all.